أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful.
الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا.
All praise belongs to Allah, who has sent down the book to His servant, and has not placed therein any crookedness.
قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا.
He has made it a guardian, that it may give warning of a severe chastisement from Him, and that it may give the believers who do good works the glad tidings that they shall have a goodly reward.
ماكثين فيه أبدا
Wherein they shall abide forever,
وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا.
and that it may warn those who say, Allah has taken unto Himself a son.
ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا.
No knowledge have they thereof, nor had their fathers. Monstrous is the word that comes out of their mouths. They speak naught but a lie.
فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا.
So it may be, thou wilt grieve thyself to death, sorrowing after them, if they believe not in this discourse.
إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا.
Verily, we have made all that is on the earth an ornament for it, that we may try them, as to which of them is best in conduct.
وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها صعيدا جرزا.
And we shall destroy all that is thereon, and make it a barren soil.
أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا.
Dost thou think that the companions of the cave and the inscription were a wonder among our signs?
إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا.
When the young men betook themselves to the cave for refuge, they said, Our Lord, bestow on us mercy from thyself, and furnish us with right guidance in our affair.
فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا.
So we prevented them from hearing in the cave for a number of years.
ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا.
Then we raised them up that we might know which of the two parties would preserve a better reckoning of the time that they tarried.
نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى.
We will relate to thee their story with truth. They were young men who believed in their Lord, and we increased them in guidance.
وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا.
And we strengthened their hearts when they stood up and said, Our Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. Never shall we call upon any God beside him. For if we did so, we would utter a preposterous thing.
هؤلاء قوم اتخذوا من دونه آلهة لولا يأتون عليهم بسلطان بين فمن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا.
These, our people, have taken for worship other gods beside him. Wherefore do they not bring a clear authority regarding them? And who is more unjust than he who invents a lie concerning Allah?
وَإِذْ اعْتَزَلْتُمُوهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهَ فَأْوُوا إِلَى الْكَهْفِ يَنشُرْ لكم ربكم من رحمته ويهيئ لكم من أمركم مرفقا.
And now, when you have withdrawn from them, and from that which they worship beside Allah, then seek refuge in the cave. Your Lord will unfold to you his mercy, and will provide for you some easy and comfortable course in this affair of yours.
وترى الشمس إذا طلعت تزاور عن كهفهم ذات اليمين وإذا غربت تقرضهم ذات الشمال وهم في فجوة منه ذلك من آيات الله.
And thou couldst see the sun as it rose move away from their cave on the right, and when it set, turn away from them on the left. And they were in a spacious hollow thereof. This is among the signs of Allah.
من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا.
He whom Allah guides is alone rightly guided, but he whom He leaves to go astray, for him thou wilt find no helper or guide.
وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقود ونقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات الشمال وكلبهم باسط ذراعيه بالوسيد لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا.
Thou mightest deem them awake whilst they are asleep, and we shall cause them to turn over to the right and to the left, their dog stretching out its forelegs on the threshold. If thou hast had a look at them, thou wilt surely turn away from them in fright, and wilt surely be filled with awe of them.
وكذلك بعثناهم ليتساءلوا بينهم قال قائل منهم كم لبثتم قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعد يوم.
And so we raised them up, that they might question one another. One of them said, How long have you tarried? They said, We have tarried a day, or part of a day.
قالوا ربكم أعلم بما لبثتم فابعثوا أحدكم بورقكم هذه إلى المدينة فلينظر أيها أزكى طعاما فليأتكم برزق منه وليتلطف ولا يشعرن بكم أحدا.
Others said, Your Lord knows best the time you have tarried. Now send one of you with these silver coins of yours to the city, and let him see which of its inhabitants has the purest food, and let him bring you provisions thereof, and let him be courteous, but let him not inform anyone about you.
إنهم يظهروا عليكم يرجموكم أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم ولن تفلحوا إذا أبدا.
For if they should prevail against you, they would stone you, or force you to return to their religion, and then you will never prosper.
وكذلك أعثرنا عليهم ليعلموا أن وعد الله حق وأن الساعة لا ريب فيها إذ يتنازعون بينهم أمرهم فقالوا ابنوا عليهم بنيانا.
And thus did we disclose them to the people, that they might know that the promise of Allah was true, and that, as to the promised hour, there was no doubt about it. And call to mind the time when people disputed among themselves concerning them, and said to each other, build over them a building.
ربهم أعلم بهم قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا.
Their Lord knew them best. Those who won their point said, we will surely build a place of worship over them.
سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب ويقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم قل ربي أعلم بعدتهم ما يعلمهم إلا قليل.
Some say they were 3, the 4th of them was their dog. And others say they were 5, the 6th of them was their dog, guessing at random. And yet others say they were 7, the 8th of them was their dog. Say, my Lord knows best their correct number.
فلا تمار فيهم إلا مراء ظاهرا ولا تستفت فيهم منهم أحدا.
None knows them except a few. So argue not concerning them except with unanswerable arguments, nor seek information concerning them from any one of them.
ولا تقولن لشيء إني فاعل ذلك غدا.
And say not of anything, I shall do that tomorrow.
إلا أن يشاء الله واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا.
Unless Allah should will. And remember thy Lord when thou forgettest, and say, I hope my Lord will guide me to what is even nearer than this, to the right path.
ولبثوا في كهفهم 300 سنين وازدادوا 9.
And they stayed in their cave 300 years, and to that they added 9.
قل الله أعلم بما لبثوا له غيب السماوات والأرض أبصر به وأسمع ما لهم من دونه من ولي ولا يشرك في حكمه أحدا.
Say, Allah knows best how long they tarried. To Him belong the secrets of the heavens and the earth. How seeing is He, and how hearing. They have no helper beside Him, and He does not let anyone share in His judgment.
واتل ما أوحي إليك من كتاب ربك لا مبدل لكلماته ولن تجد من دونه ملتحدا.
And recite what has been revealed to thee of the book of thy Lord. There is none who can change his words, and thou wilt find no refuge beside him.
واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا.
And keep thyself attached to those who call on their Lord morning and evening, seeking his pleasure. And let not thine eyes pass beyond them, seeking the adornment of the life of the world.
ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا.
And obey not him whose heart we have made heedless of our remembrance, and who follows his low desires, and his case exceeds all legitimate bounds.
وقل الحق من ربكم فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر إنا أعتدنا للظالمين نارا أحاط بهم سرادقها.
And say, it is the truth from your Lord. Wherefore let him who will believe, and let him who will disbelieve. Verily, we have prepared for the wrongdoers a fire whose flaming canopy shall enclose them.
وَإِن يَسْتَغِيثُوا يُغَاثُوا بِمَاءٍ كَالْمُهْلِ يَشْوِي الْوُجُوهَ بِئْسَ الشَّرَابُ وَسَاءَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا.
And if they cry for help, they will be helped with water like molten lead, which would scald their faces. How dreadful the drink, and how evil the resting place.
إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إنا لا نضيع أجر من أحسن عملا.
Verily, those who believe and do good works, surely we suffer not the reward of those who do good works to be lost.
أولئك لهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتهم الأنهار يحلون فيها من أساور من ذهب ويلبسون ثيابا خضرا من سندس واستبرق متكئين فيها على الأرائك.
It is these who will have gardens of eternity, underneath which streams shall flow. They will be adorned therein with bracelets of gold, and will wear green garments of fine silk and heavy brocade, reclining therein upon raised couches.
نعم الثواب وحسنت مرتفقا.
How good the reward, and how excellent the place of rest.
واضرب لهم مثل الرجلين جعلنا لأحدهما جنتين من أعناب وحففناهما بنخل وجعلنا بينهما زرعا.
And set forth for them the parable of two men. One of them we provided with 2 gardens of grapes, and surrounded them with date palms, and between the two we placed cornfields.
كلتا الجنتين آتت أكلها ولم تظلم منه شيئا وفجرنا خلالهما نهرا.
Each of the gardens yielded its fruits in abundance, and failed not the least therein. And in between the two we caused a stream to flow.
وكان له ثمر فقال لصاحبه وهو يحاوره أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا.
And he had fruit in abundance. And he said to his companion boastfully, arguing with him, I am richer than thou in wealth, and stronger in respect of men.
ودخل جنته وهو ظالم لنفسه قال ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا.
And he entered his garden while he was wronging his soul. He said, I do not think that this will ever perish.
وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رددت إلى ربي لأجدن خيرا منها منقلبا.
And I do not think the promised hour will ever come. And even if I am ever brought back to my Lord, I shall surely find a better resort than this.
قال له صاحبه وهو يحاوره أكفرت بالذي خلقك من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم سواك رجلا.
His companion said to him, while he was arguing with him, Dost thou disbelieve in him who created thee first from dust, then from a sperm drop, then fashioned thee into a perfect man?
لكن هو الله ربي ولا أشرك بربي أحدا.
But as for me, I believe that Allah alone is my Lord, and I will not associate anyone with my Lord.
ولولا إذ دخلت جنتك قلت ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله إن ترني أنا أقل منك مالا وولدا.
And why didst thou not say, when thou didst enter thy garden, only that which Allah wills comes to pass? There is no power save in Allah. If thou seest me as less than thyself in riches and offspring.
فعسى ربي أن يؤتيني خيرا من جنتك ويرسل عليها حسبانا من السماء فتصبح صعيدا زلقا.
It may be, my Lord will give me something better than thy garden, and will send on thy garden a thunderbolt from heaven, so that it will become bare, slippery ground.
أو يصبح ماؤها غورا فلن تستطيع له طلبا.
Or its water will dry up, so that thou wilt not be able to find it.
وأحيط بثمره فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها وهي خاوية على عروشها ويقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا.
And his fruit was totally destroyed. And he began to wring his hands, bewailing all that he had spent on it. And it had all fallen down on its trellises. And he said, would that I had not associated anyone with my Lord.
ولم تكن له فئة ينصرونه من دون الله وما كان منتصرا.
And he had no party to help him against Allah, nor was he able to defend himself.
هنالك الولاية لله الحق هو خير ثوابا وخير عقبا.
In such a case, protection comes only from Allah, the True. He is best in rewarding and best in respect of the final outcome.
واضرب لهم مثل الحياة الدنيا كماء إن أنزلناه من السماء فاختلط به نبات الأرض فأصبح هشيما تذروه الرياح وكان الله على كل شيء مقتدرا.
And set forth for them the similitude of the life of this world. It is like the water which we send down from the sky, and the vegetation of the earth is mingled with it, and then it becomes dry grass broken into pieces, which the winds scatter. And Allah has full power over everything.
المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا.
Wealth and children are ornaments of the life of this world, but enduring good works are better in the sight of thy Lord in respect of immediate reward, and better in respect of future hope.
ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض بارزة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا.
And bethink of the day when we shall remove the mountains, and thou wilt see the nations of the earth march forth against one another, and we shall gather them all together, and shall not leave any one of them behind.
وعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم أن لن نجعل لكم موعدا.
And they will be presented to thy Lord, standing in rows. And it will be said to them, Now have you come to us, as we created you at first. But you thought that we would not appoint a time for the fulfillment of our promise to you.
ووضع الكتاب فترى المجرمين مشفقين مما فيه ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا.
And the book of their deeds will be placed before them, and thou wilt see the guilty ones fearful at what is therein. And they will say, O woe to us! What kind of a book is this? It leaves out nothing, small or great, but has recorded it. And they will find all that they did confronting them, and thy Lord does not wrong anyone.
وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس كان من الجن ففسق عن أمر ربه.
And call to mind the time when we said to the angels, Submit to Adam. And they all submitted, but Iblis did not. He was one of the jinn, and he disobeyed the command of his Lord.
أفتتخذونه وذريته أولياء من دوني وهم لكم عدو بئس للظالمين بدلا.
Will you then take him and his offspring for friends, instead of me, while they are your enemies? Evil is the exchange for the wrongdoers.
ما أشهدتهم أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا.
I did not make them witness the creation of the heavens and the earth, nor their own creation, nor could I take as helpers those who lead people astray.
ويوم يقول نادوا شركائي الذين زعمتم فدعوهم فلم يستجيبوا لهم وجعلنا بينهم موبقا.
And remember the day when he will say to them, call those whom you deem to be my partners. Then they will call on them, but they will not answer them, and we shall place a barrier between them.
ورأى المجرمون النار فظنوا أنهم واقعوها ولم يجدوا عنها مصرفا.
And the guilty shall see the fire and realize that they are going to fall therein, and they shall find no escape therefrom.
ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا.
And surely we have explained in various ways in this Qur'an for the good of mankind all manner of similitudes, but of all things man is most contentious.
وما منع الناس أن يؤمنوا إذ جاءهم الهدى ويستغفروا ربهم إلا أن تأتيهم سنة الأولين أو يأتيهم العذاب قبلا.
And nothing hinders people from believing when the guidance comes to them, and from asking forgiveness of their Lord, but that they wait for the fate of the ancients to overtake them, or that punishment should come upon them face to face.
وما نرسل المرسلين إلا مبشرين ومنذرين ويجادل الذين كفروا بالباطل ليدحضوا به الحق واتخذوا آياتي وما أنذروا هزوا.
And we send not the messengers but as bearers of glad tidings and as warners. And those who disbelieve contend by means of falsehood, that they may rebut the truth thereby. And they take my signs and what they are warned of only as a jest.
ومن أظلم ممن ذكر بآيات ربه فأعرض عنها ونسي ما قدمت يداه إنا جعلنا على قلوبهم أكنة أن يفقهوه وفي آذانهم وقرا وإن تدعهم إلى الهدى فلن يهتدوا إذا أبدا.
And who is more unjust than he who is reminded of the signs of his Lord, but turns away from them, and forgets what his hands have sent forward? Verily, we have placed veils over their hearts, that they understand it not, and in their ears a deafness. And if thou call them to guidance, they will never accept it.
وَرَبُّكَ الْغَفُورُ ذُو الرَّحْمَةِ لو يواخذهم بما كسبوا لعجل لهم العذاب بل لهم موعد لن يجدوا من دونه موئلا.
And thy Lord is most forgiving, Lord of mercy. If he were to seize them for what they have earned, then surely he would have hastened the punishment for them. But they have an appointed time, from which they will find no refuge.
وَتِلْكَ الْقُرَى أَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا وَجَعَلْنَا لِمَهْلِكِهِمْ مَوْعِدًا.
And these towns, we destroyed them when they committed iniquities, and we appointed a time for their destruction.
وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ لَا أَبْرَحُ حَتَّى أَبْلُغَ مَجْمَعَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ أَوْ أَمْضِيَ حُقْبًا.
And remember the time when Moses said to his young companion, I will not cease pursuing my course until I reach the junction of the two seas, though I may have to journey on for ages.
فلما بلغا مجمع بينهما نسيا حوتهما فاتخذ سبيله في البحر سربا.
But when they reached the place where the two seas met, they forgot their fish, and it made its way into the sea, going away quickly.
فلما جاوزا قال لفتاه آتنا غداءنا لقد لقينا من سفرنا هذا نصبا.
And when they had gone beyond that place, he said to his young companion, Bring us our morning meal. Surely we have suffered much fatigue on account of this journey of ours.
قال أرأيت إذ أوينا إلى الصخرة فإني نسيت الحوت وما أنسانيه إلا الشيطان أن أذكره واتخذ سبيله في البحر عجبا.
He replied, Didst thou see, when we betook ourselves to the rock for rest, and I forgot the fish, and none but Satan caused me to forget to mention it to thee. It took its way into the sea in a marvelous manner.
قال ذلك ما كنا نبغي فارتدا على آثارهما قصصا.
He said, "That is what we have been seeking." So they both returned, retracing their footsteps.
فوجدا عبدا من عبادنا آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما.
Then they found a servant of ours, upon whom we had bestowed mercy from us, and whom we had taught knowledge from ourselves.
قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا.
Moses said to him, "May I follow thee on condition that thou teach me some of the guidance which thou hast been taught?"
قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا.
He replied, "Thou canst not have patience with me.
وكيف تصبر على ما لم تحط به خبرا.
And how canst thou have patience about things the knowledge of which thou comprehendest not?"
قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا.
He said, "Thou wilt find me, if Allah please, patient, and I shall not disobey any command of thine."
قال فإن اتبعتني فلا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرا.
He said, "Well, if thou wouldst follow me, then ask me no questions about anything till I myself speak to thee about it."
فانطلقا حتى إذا ركبا في السفينة خرقها قال خرقتها لتغرق أهلها لقد جئت شيئا إمرا.
So they both set out, till when they embarked in a boat, he made a hole in it. Moses said, "Hast thou made a hole in it, to drown those who are in it? Surely thou hast done a grievous thing."
قال ألم أقل إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا.
He replied, "Did I not tell thee that thou canst not have patience with me?"
قال لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت ولا ترهقني من أمري عسرا.
Moses said, "Take me not to task for what I forgot, and be not hard on me for this lapse of mine."
فانطلقا حتى إذا لقيا غلاما فقتله قال قتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس لقد جئت شيئا نكرا.
So they journeyed on, till when they met a young boy, he slew him. Moses said, "What, hast thou slain an innocent person, without his having slain anyone? Surely, thou hast done a hideous thing."
قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا.
He replied, "Did I not tell thee that thou couldst never bear with me patiently?"
قال إن سألتك عن شيء بعدها فلا تصاحبني قد بلغت من لدني عذرا.
Moses said, "If I ask thee concerning anything after this, keep me not in thy company, for then thou shalt have got sufficient excuse from me."
فانطلقا حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية استطعما أهلها فأبوا أن يضيفوهما فوجدا فيها جدارا يريد أن ينقض فقامه قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا.
So they went on till, when they came to the people of a town, they asked its people for food, but they refused to receive them as their guests. And they found therein a wall which was about to fall, and he repaired it. Moses said, "If thou hadst so desired, thou couldst have taken payment for it."
قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا.
He said, "This is the parting of the ways between me and thee. I will now tell thee the meaning of that which thou was not able to bear with patience."
أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر فأردت أن أعيبها وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة غصبا.
As for the boat, it belonged to certain poor people who worked on the sea, and I desired to damage it, for there was behind them a king who seized every boat by force.
وأما الغلام فكان أبواه مؤمنين فخشينا أن يرهقهما طغيانا وكفرا.
And as for the youth, his parents were believers, and we feared lest on growing up he should involve them into trouble through rebellion and disbelief.
فأردنا أن يبدلهما ربهما خيرا منه زكاة وأقرب رحما.
So we desired that their Lord should give them in exchange one better than he in purity and closer in filial affection.
وأما الجدار فكان لغلامين يتيمين في المدينة وكان تحته كنز لهما وكان أبوهما صالحا فأراد ربك أن يبلغا أشدهما ويستخرجا كنزهما رحمة من ربك.
And as for the wall, it belonged to 2 orphan boys in the town, and beneath it was a treasure belonging to them. And their father had been a righteous man. So thy Lord desired that they should reach their age of full strength and take out their treasure as a mercy from thy Lord, and I did it not of my own accord.
وما فعلته عن أمري ذلك تأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا.
This is the explanation of that which thou could not bear with patience.
ويسألونك عن ذي القرنين قل سأتلو عليكم منه ذكرا.
And they ask thee concerning Zulqarnain. Say, I will recite to you something of his account.
إنا مكنا له في الأرض وآتيناه من كل شيء سببا.
We established him in the earth and gave him the means to achieve everything.
فأتبع سببا.
Then he followed a certain way,
حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمية ووجد عندها قوما قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا.
until when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting as if in a pool of murky water, and near it he found a people. We said, O Zulqarnain, you may punish them or treat them with kindness.
قال أما من ظلم فسوف نعذبه ثم يرد إلى ربه فيعذبه عذابا نكرا.
He said, As for him who does wrong, we shall certainly punish him. Then shall he be brought back to his Lord, who will punish him with a dreadful punishment.
وَأَمَّا مَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلَهُ جَزَاءً الْحُسْنَى وَسَنَقُولُ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا يُسْرًا.
But as for him who believes and acts righteously, he will have a good reward with his Lord, and we too shall speak to him easy words of our command.
ثُمَّ أَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا.
Then indeed he followed another way,
حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا.
Until when he reached the rising place of the sun, he found it rising on a people for whom we had made no shelter against it.
كذلك وقد أحطنا بما لديه خبرا.
Thus indeed it was, verily, we had full knowledge of all that he had with him.
ثم أتبع سببا
Then he followed another way,
حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا.
until when he reached the open place between the two mountains, he found beneath them a people who could scarcely understand a word of what he said.
قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا.
They said, O Zulqarnain, verily, Gog and Magog are creating disorder in the earth. Shall we then pay thee tribute, on condition that thou set up a barrier between us and them?
قال ما مكني فيه ربي خير فاعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما.
He replied, The power with which my Lord has endowed me about this is better than the resources of my enemies. But you may help me with strength of laborers. I will set up a rampart between you and them.
آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين السدفين قال انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا.
Bring me blocks of iron. They did so, till when he had filled up the space between the two mountainsides, he said, Now blow with your bellows. They blew, till when he had made it red as fire, he said, Bring me molten copper, that I may pour it thereon.
فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه وما استطاعوا له نقبا.
So they, Gog and Magog, were not able to scale it, nor were they able to dig through it.
قال هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكا وكان وعد ربي حقا.
Thereupon he said, This is a mercy from my Lord, but when the promise of my Lord shall come to pass, he will break it into pieces, and the promise of my Lord is certainly true.
وتركنا بعضهم يومئذ يموج في بعض ونفخ في الصور فجمعناهم جمعا.
And on that day we shall leave some of them to surge against others, and the trumpet will be blown. Then shall we gather them all together.
وعرضنا جهنم يومئذ للكافرين عرضا.
And on that day we shall present hell face to face to the disbelievers.
الذين كانت أعينهم في غطاء عن ذكري وكانوا لا يستطيعون سمعا.
Whose eyes were under a veil, not heeding my reminder, and they could not even afford to hear.
أفحسب الذين كفروا أن يتخذوا عبادي من دوني أولياء إنا أعتدنا جهنم للكافرين نزلا.
Do the disbelievers think that they can take my servants as protectors instead of me? Surely, we have prepared hell as an entertainment for the disbelievers.
قل هل ننبئكم بالأخسرين أعمالا.
Say, shall we tell you of those who are the greatest losers in respect of their works?
الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا.
Those whose labor is all lost in pursuit of the life of this world, and yet they imagine that they are doing good works.
أولئك الذين كفروا بآيات ربهم ولقائه فحبطت أعمالهم فلا نقيم لهم يوم القيامة وزنا.
Those are they who deny the signs of their Lord and the meeting with Him. So their works are vain, and on the day of resurrection we shall give them no weight.
ذلك جزاؤهم جهنم بما كفروا واتخذوا آياتي ورسلي هزوا.
That is their reward, hell, because they disbelieved and made a jest of my signs and my messengers.
إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كانت لهم جنات الفردوس نزلا.
Surely, those who believe and act righteously will have gardens of paradise for an abode.
خالدين فيها لا يبغون عنها حولا.
Wherein they will abide, having no desire to be removed therefrom.
قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا.
Say, if every ocean became ink for the words of my Lord, surely the ocean would be exhausted before the words of my Lord were exhausted, even though we brought the like thereof as further help.
قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا.
Say, I am but a man like yourselves, but it is revealed to me that your God is only one God. So let him who hopes to meet his Lord do good deeds, and let him join no one in the worship of his Lord.